Oh my god, hey, hello, welcome back to my theatre-themed YouTube channel, or hello to you if you're listening on podcast platforms. My name is Mickey Jo.
And I'm Aeron James.
My stagey fiancé, and today we're going to be talking once more about the Tony Awards.
Once more?
We're again talking about the Tony Awards, not for the last time. The ceremony is set to be broadcast in a couple of weeks, and today what we're going to do, rather than give you our full predictions for who we think is going to win the Tonys, we're going to talk about who we want to win, like in our heart of hearts.
I'm going to struggle with this.
I think there's going to be more difference here, because I think we come to the same sort of industry decision about who we objectively think is going to win, or what show we think objectively is going to win.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of what we really want, if we're honest about it, I think that may differ. So we're going to talk through every single category. We're talking performances, creative elements, direction, writing, as well as, of course, the eligible new and revival plays and musicals. And on the count of 3, without swaying each other whatsoever, we are going to say who or what we think should win.
Okay.
We are each wearing a little bow tie, and we are allowed one tie at some point during this. Okay. So you are allowed to, in one category at one moment, and not once more, say, I would like to see a tie here. I am manifesting a tie. And at that point, we will remove the ties from around our necks and throw them to the ground. Podcast listeners, the dramatic impact of that may be a little lost on you, but we'll do our best to subtitle it with some stage directions. In the meantime, are you ready to talk about the Tonys?
Let's go.
Just before we start, though, if you do enjoy this coverage, make sure to subscribe here on YouTube or follow on podcast platforms. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the rest of the Tonys coverage before the ceremony. And to all of the show's performers and creatives who we don't necessarily talk about today, it doesn't mean that we don't still love and respect your work very much, but it's a challenging time.
It is.
You have to choose. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to be a Tony voter this year.
So difficult.
This season's a nightmare.
Very different shows as well.
Yeah.
How do you compare shows from comedies to a drama?
Exactly.
Well, what works?
Yeah, we're about to find out, because this is who we want to win the Tonys. Let's start with one where I think we're going to be in agreement, which is Best New Musical. Who are the nominees, Aeron James?
Buena Vista Social Club, Dead Outlaw, Death Becomes Her, Maybe Happy Ending, and Operation Mincemeat.
And, you know, looking back... Well, I'm not going to say it yet. We're just going to do...
You're
3,
already
2, 1.
comparing stuff.
I know.
We are not in that video.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Maybe Happy Ending.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
As I suspected that we would be. We love those robots.
It's just so heartwarming. It's beautifully done.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like it's moving theatre in a direction that we've not seen, where a show that's so small and intimate and packs an emotional punch, it's allowing a lot more musicals to be seen as Broadway shows.
Yeah, but also on like a more personal, emotional level, we were so taken with this the first time we saw it. We queued up to get rush tickets again a couple of days later. We've been back to see it for a third time. We love this show and the success that it's had. You know, it didn't have the easiest start on Broadway. And who knew that we would be able to legitimately consider it maybe a Tony's frontrunner this many months later?
Such an underdog.
Nominations. Who knew we'd get to this point and be emotionally rooting for anything other than Operation Mincemeat, which we do love. We jumped up and down at the Royal Albert Hall when they won the Olivier, but heart of hearts, it's going to the robots.
Maybe a happy ending,
Yeah. So the nominated Best New Plays are English, Purpose, John Proctor as the Villain, Oh Mary, and The Hills of California. I'm thinking about it. No, I'm not thinking about it. I have my answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. John Proctor is the villain. It's so good.
When we saw it at the end, I was like, I could watch that again easily.
Yeah.
Easily watch it again. I want to talk about it to people straight after. And I'd gone in a bit nervous because all of our friends were talking about it. What about if that means that I'm the one that goes, this is not justified?
Yeah.
So I'd got nervous, and then just the energy and the oh my gosh at the end.
It's the way it resonates with young audiences. And can you imagine, because this play I've mentioned before has done a little quirky little thing where it's licensed itself before making it to Broadway, which is very unusual, but it means a bunch of schools have already performed it around the country. Can you imagine those kids watching the Tonys and then John Proctor wins the Tony? How excited they would be.
Yeah.
I think it's too close to call.
It is too close to call. I mean, Oh Mary's just won awards already.
Yeah. We're not actually predicting it yet. But my point is I will jump up and down if John Proctor is called, because I think that will be exciting and still somewhat surprising.
Yeah. The nominees for Best Revival of a Play are Eureka Day, Romeo and Juliet, Our Town, and Yellowface. 3,
No.
2,
No.
what?
No. It's not what you think should. It's not like intellectual and like objectively. It is subjective. It is personal. It is like, I'd love that. Right? Right? I feel like we're having psychic conversations without having conversations here. We keep agreeing on these prediction videos. I was really hoping that this one from Heart of Heart would see us in slightly different directions, but I feel like I know exactly where you are all the time. 3, 2, 1. Romeo and Juliet. Oh, it happened. We differed. What's your thought process here?
Watching it, I think it did a really good job of explaining different viewpoints, and that scene where the whole community is on the board, on the projection, and the whole audience are just freaking out. And I thought it was such a clever way of writing. But you can write a whole scene that performers are doing, but actually it's the dialogue that's been written for the projections that are having an impact. I just thought it was so clever.
Yeah. I do still think Eureka Day is the stronger and should win, but something about how Romeo and Juliet engaged with young audiences, I'm such a sucker for that. And, you know, I just thought it was fun and it really charmed me. And again, a lot of young people will be really excited. And I think in many ways it represents the future. We have so many of these like stunt cast shows to cater to older, wealthy audience demographics. It was cool to see something that brought record-breaking young audiences into the theatre. That is the future of Broadway. Finally then, we have Best Revival of a Musical, where the nominees of course are Gypsy, Sunset Boulevard, Floyd Collins, and Pirates, the Penzance musical.
3, 2, 1. Sunset Boulevard.
It's got to be Sunset Boulevard.
It's always going to be Sunset.
It's got to be Sunset. Again, going back to that conversation of like, as a revival, like,
yeah.
I think it's the stronger productions of the 2 out of 4 that we've seen, I will say.
If it's a musical that's been really well received and it's being revived, then I want to know why now? Why is it being revived? It's already been loved. It's already been acclaimed.
Great point.
So what's the purpose? What's the meaning? What's the reasoning? On the opposite side is a revival of a musical where we are finally doing justice to a musical that was not given its dues before, or solving issues with musicals that were not the best for first time round, and it's because they needed a new book writer, or they needed a revision, or they needed changes. Then the revival transforms that musical into what it is. Jamie Lloyd found a way to make it work for today's audiences, for younger audiences to relate to Norma Desmond and to see and understand it in a world that Norma wouldn't have really worked now. Right, let's start with Best Direction of a Play.
Best Direction of a Play.
We have Canute Adams for English, Sam Mendes for The Hills of California, Sam Pinkleton for Oh Mary, Danya Taymor for John Proctor is the Villain, and Kip Williams for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
I know what I want. I don't think it's what I think, but it's what I want.
I know what I want.
I think it's the same thing. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Canute Adams for English.
Yeah. It's all to do with the accent work.
Yes.
I don't think any of the others, like the others' direction, beautiful. But to work accents and make it so clear for anybody when they are speaking in English and not, like they are being their true self, and then when there's a barrier and explaining it so pertinently through that direction.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes that production.
I think clarity is really the guiding light of all of the work that was done in that direction, because also to know exactly where these relationships were and where the characterizations were as they're talking about struggling to articulate themselves, and for us to understand where each of them is so clearly throughout that was brilliant. So yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
That would make me happy. Then we have direction of a musical. Oh, this is really hard. Okay, Saheem Ali for Buena Vista Social Club, Michael Arden for Maybe Happy Ending, David Cromer for Dead Outlaw, Christopher Catelli for Death Becomes Her, and Jamie Lloyd for Sunset Boulevard. What do you want?
I will preface this by saying we haven't watched Dead Outlaw.
We haven't watched Dead Outlaw yet, no.
I am stuck between 2.
I'll remind you that you have a tie around your neck, and this might be the category.
I am actually going to use my tie.
He's using the tie.
Yeah.
He's using
This is the one that I would use it for.
Okay, do you want to play 3D chess about this? And when we do 3, 2, 1, try and start with the person you think I'm going to say, and then say your second one separately. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Jamie Lloyd and Michael Arden.
There you go.
Jamie Lloyd, I feel like this is a moment where it's like, Jamie Lloyd, your direction, like, we see it, we understand it, we value it.
Yeah.
And let's not deny Sunset has had such a massive zeitgeist moment, and that is because of his direction.
Yeah.
But Michael Arden succeeds in making a show that is so intimate work for so many people. I think, yes, the performances are incredible in that, but it's the direction as well of making that comedy land, making the heart, knowing when to pull and push. And
Yeah. I'd be thrilled. I'd be really thrilled if Michael won for maybe Happy Ending. I think my heart can't argue with my head here about Jamie Lloyd with Sunset Boulevard. It's been so talked about because of Jamie. He's at the center of all of this, as is Michael with maybe Happy Ending, and it's really hard, but that's still what I want. So the bow tie has been thrown down.
I'm happy with using it for that one.
I'm holding on to it. I don't know what for. I haven't thought ahead.
So, best choreography.
Uh-huh.
We have Joshua Begas for Smash, Camille A. Brown for Gypsy, Christopher Gattelli for Death Becomes Her, Jerry Mitchell for Boop the Musical, and Patricia Delgado and Justin Peck for Buena Vista Social Club. I don't know what my heart wants on this one. I might just let fate decide what I say, because I'm really stuck. I've got 3 that I'm between.
You've got 3? You just threw away your tie, and now you're stuck between 3.
Because I don't... It wasn't one that I felt as strongly... Like, there I was, like, evenly the 2.
Uh-huh.
Whereas now I'm like, I like all 3, but I don't think I'd be sad if 2 didn't get it because they got the noms. 3, 2, 1...
Christopher Gattelli. You didn't say anything! You didn't say anything! That's cheating. Christopher Gattelli, Death Becomes Her. I don't know at this moment if it's what I think, or if I think Buena Vista, or if I think Jerry Mitchell, or if I think Smash even. It's really hard. There's a lot of terrific work.
Christopher Gattelli, I've loved his choreography since Newsies, like for ages, and I think that was what I first was going to say. My frame of mind was with Joshua Begas. I was thinking about my connection to like the Smash of the thing and the choreo being one of the best things about
from the series.
The series.
So
it's kind of that feeling of like, would I feel really happy because it's honouring his work that's been for this long on the show, and he's like he's like one of the few creatives, one of the only creatives really that's being honoured for work on the TV show as well as the musical.
I'm still voting for,
but I'm gonna go
Staircase Fall. For the Gays.
And Christopher Gattelli, I'm just like, For the Gays is a moment and a half, and actually I'm gonna hands down do Gattelli because we don't see same-sex partnerships in dance so willingly and going through, and just so genderqueer. I was like, perfect.
Yeah, that was a surprisingly emotionally draining category.
I never realised I have such strong feelings about choreo until we talk about it, and I'm like,
who knew? The nominees for Best Orchestrations are Andrew Resnick and Michael Thurber for Just in Time, Will Aronson for Maybe Happy Ending, Bruce Coughlin for Floyd Collins, Marco Paglia for Buena Vista Social Club, and David Cullen and Andrew Lloyd Webber for Sunset Boulevard.
I feel strongly about this.
3, 2, 1.
Maybe
Buena Vista
Happy
Social
Ending.
Club. Oh. Yeah, I think I stand by it. Just the musicianship in Buena Vista. And I know they're already getting...
They're getting a special Tony.
The band are getting a Tony. But I just think it's one of the few shows this season that talks about its orchestrations in the show because of the flute moment.
The big moment of Maybe Happy Ending is the string quartet. The reveal of them and this feeling of like suddenly going the power of like the emotions that that the orchestra are able to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that those orchestrations are beautiful and impact with the melodies reappear through the orchestrations, and how they go from the mix between Gil and then the characters, and how actually the very different orchestration styles.
Well, it's that string moment. It's so alive and real, and it's
gorgeous.
Move away from like the synthetic sound.
And it's meant to be fireflies because that's the sound of like fireflies with the wings and the strings, and just how I think every time when I see that moment, it just gets me. And it's not even just the emotions of them; it's the emotions of I used to play in a orchestra. I was a clarinet.
You were a clarinet.
So that's why I always like a woodwind moment. Woodwind moments are my want.
But you know what? I was a classical guitarist, which is why I love Buena Vista so much. Do you know what's hilarious? We've just talked about orchestrations and we haven't talked about score yet. Let's talk about Best Original Score. Music and lyrics.
So it is between Dead Outlaw, music and lyrics by David Yazbek and Eric Della Penna. Death Becomes Her, music and lyrics by Julian Matheson and Noel Carey. Maybe Happy Ending, music by Will Aronson and lyrics by Will Aronson and Hugh Park. Operation Mincemeat, a new musical, music and lyrics by David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson and Zoe Roberts. Real Women Have Curves, a musical, music and lyrics by Joy Huerta and Benjamin Veles. 3, 2, 1, maybe Happy Ending.
Mincemeat. And I thought you might. Ask me, like, at any other moment and I could go in that direction. I'm so torn between the two, and they're both great scores in different ways. And we could extol the virtues of Maybe Happy Ending as a score. I think there is a deceptive cleverness to Mincemeat.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dear Bill is the reason for the season. I just really want Spitlip to win one of their categories. And maybe we'll get to book and I'll think, oh, actually, that's the one that I want. I just want to see them on stage at some point. I don't know if it's what my head thinks, but it's what my heart wants. And there's such cleverness and wit in those lyrics as well. Like, I keep coming back to Fortune Favours Bravery and A Fortune's What I've Got.
With score especially, I often go, which musical of the season do I actually listen to? Do I actually,
Sure,
like, genuinely, like, sticks with me? And in honesty, I don't listen to Mincemeat that often.
No, I'd listen to Maybe Happy more, but I think that's also the style of the thing.
The score for that musical is up there in my top scores of all time.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I can't go against that.
Yeah.
That's my heart is with Maybe Happy Endings.
I respect it. It would also make me very happy. Sorry, there's a lot of wind noise coming from outside, if you're wondering why my face is reacting. If a young woman from Kansas with a dog flies past in a house at any moment, don't be surprised. Okay, best book of a musical. So we have Marco Ramirez for Buena Vista Social Club, Itamar Moses for Dead Outlaw, Marco Panette for Death Becomes Her, Will Aronson and Hugh Park again for Maybe Happy Ending, and also David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson and Zoe Roberts for Operation Mincemeat, a new musical. See, what's interesting here is this is sort of what I wanted, because I think when I come to predicting and when I come to saying, like, what I think should, like, academically and objectively should, it's not the choices I'm making here necessarily, but I am ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Death Becomes Her.
Oh,
And I feel really bad because I've not said Spitlip for either. But I think the thing with Spitlip for me is, like, my heart's like, I think they I think, here we go. Academically, I already think they're going to win one of them.
I think...
And that means that they're not an underdog for me.
I think there's a whole shift here, because I said I wanted Death Becomes Her to win book, and I'll talk about why in a moment. But I think Mincemeat will win book.
I agree.
Or should win book, even. I think they should win. Not well. I think they should win book. And I think that maybe Happy Ending should win score. But Death Becomes Her, having watched the film...
I think this is the thing. You don't realise that so many of those moments are because of the book writing that they've, like, the... and plus that they've done for everything.
So all of the character stuff and so many of those great, really delicious lines.
It's witty, it's iconic, it's going to stay there. Like, Madeline's moments, her asides, I'm like, they're so theatrical.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't get comedy musicals on stage of that caliber. We haven't in a long time.
It's
for
been
a big musical comedy that actually sticks the landing on the comedy.
Uh-huh.
How often do you get roles that you're really excited to see different divas perform?
Yeah, and I'll be really sad if Death Becomes Her doesn't walk away with something.
Yeah, agreed.
Although I think they have a better chance in a different category. But we'll get on to that, because we're going to carry on talking about the rest of the creatives.
Yeah. Let's do Best Scenic Design of a Play.
Let's do it.
So we have Marsha Ginsburg for English, Rob Howell for The Hills of California, Marge Howell and David Bergman for The Picture of Dorian Gray, Miriam Buffer and 59 for Stranger Things for First Shadow, and Scott Pask for Good Night and Good Luck. 3, 2, 1, The Hills of California. It was just really clever. Yeah. The staircases was just iconic. It was like, I love when set designs actually build a full house.
Same.
My first Western show was Mary Poppins, when it was the full house on stage. And it's just, when you're doing a really realistic play in many ways, you fully believe and you fall into that world. Yeah. And when a lot of people talk about Hills of California, they talk about Laura Donnelly and the staircase moment.
Yeah. Also, I think, again, The Hills of California is another one, because it started here and we saw it here twice first before New York. It would be really lovely to see them walk away with something. And there's something about seeing a show in London first and then seeing that same set on Broadway. We haven't had that experience many times at all, other than in 2 other plays in this category, Dorian Gray and Stranger Things. But
I mean, Stranger Things has changed.
Stranger Things has changed. So there you go. Let's do set design musicals. So we have Rachel Hawke for Swept Away, Dane Laffrey and George Reeve for Maybe Happy Ending, Arnulfo Maldonado for Buena Vista Social Club, Derek McLean for Death Becomes Her, and also Derek McLean for Just in Time. 3, 2, 1.
Swept Away.
You as well?
Because
I was shocked. I was shocked even by myself.
I'm not actually by me, because I always love a big swing with set. And I'll always say...
That wasn't a swing, it was a boat. It was a boat.
Well, actually, it swung up.
You're confused.
But I think the one thing that stuck with me the most about that show was for set design.
And I love that it's nominated. I love a nomination for a closed show from months
people
back.
respect, people know that was
where they're like, you know
a
what?
move.
Yeah.
It's undeniably ridiculously high quality. Like, I love the Maybe Happy Ending set, but I do...
And I love the Death Becomes Her set. Again,
Yeah,
it's a big
gorgeous.
year for Staircases.
Staircases, beautiful. I sometimes go, what's moving theatre forward?
Sure.
And like...
Innovation. Where's the innovation?
Innovation. And this is the thing,
Away.
Swept Away is... Well, that was so innovative.
Sure.
To do it, that I'm like, I would like it to win in my heart, because then I know that people are voting for innovation.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite important.
Let's talk about lighting.
I was going to do costume.
Let's talk about costume.
Cool, let's do costume design of a play. The nominees are Brenda Avandandolo for Good Night and Good Luck, Marge Hallwell for The Picture of Dorian Gray, Rob Howell for The Hills of California, Holly Pearson for Oh Mary, and Brigitte Reifenstrahl for Stranger Things: The First Shadow.
3, 2, 1. The
Oh,
Picture
Mary.
of Dorian Gray. Interesting. I would just quite like to see Australians on stage at the Tony Awards. I don't think it happens very often. I've almost slipped into an Australian accent.
Actually, I saw that happen.
It's happened. Just sort of crept in there. I think it would be fun. I think, we don't recognise international theatre makers enough. It's very American accent and British accent dominated at these things.
The costume design in that show,
It's gorgeous.
it is interesting how many of them appear on stage versus on camera.
But it's still essential.
But they
still
are
have
all
to be
essential.
designed. The
Yeah,
work still
yeah.
happened.
And even the costume design that's on stage is very...
Yeah.
Where I felt like O'Mary, the important thing about O'Mary was kind of like how you see iconic characters like Disney characters that you see and you instantly see them and you know straight away who they are, what they did.
Mm-hmm.
What you need with O'Mary is costumes that instantly, no matter who's playing them and taking over them, and I guess because we've seen it, that you like, that's Mary.
Yeah.
And I feel like with that costume design, all of those characters have become like caricaturesques, but
There's a whimsical and campy quality to the design.
this is what I like. I think they've done a very good job in making O'Mary and the image of O'Mary iconic.
Costume design for a musical, meanwhile, Didi Aite for Buena Vista Social Club, Greg Barnes for Boop, Clint Ramos for Maybe Happy Ending, Paul Taswell for Death Becomes Her, and Catherine Zuber for Just in Time. 3, 2, 1. Death Becomes Her. Paul Taswell. It has to happen.
Yeah.
It has to happen. My head says it, my heart says it, everything says it.
I love a show where the ensemble all have iconic looks, but
You do.
designed
You do.
uniquely
He talks
for
about
them.
this. Yeah.
And also because it is gender aware. There are non-binary members of that cast who everything's been created for them to feel very valid.
Yeah.
And very aware and like know
And gorgeous. And
exactly
sexy.
and know that their costume designer cares about them.
Yeah.
And gives each person on that stage, I feel like, can feel glamorous, can feel on it. I mean, I'm sorry, but like the looks in For the Gays, iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring how to make costumes with acrobats, also very difficult. And we're not even mentioning like the special effects looks that like the two
special
divas
effects
have.
of it all, and then the gowns that like toy with that, with the Diamante epicenter,
And divas.
the neckline, and yeah.
Like you've got these two moments now when the Madeline and the Helen come out, and you're like, I can't wait to see this.
And if we're talking heart more than head with this one, or disembodied head, as the case may be, with Death Becomes Her, I also just think with the success that Paul has had with his first Academy Award win for Wicked, I think that would be, you'd almost be celebrating that as well.
So best lighting design of a play, Natasha Chivers for The Hills of California, John Clark for Stranger Things: The First Shadow, Heather Gilbert and David Bengali for Good Night and Good Luck, Natasha Katz and Hannah Wasilewski for John Proctor as the Villain, or Nick Schleiper for The Picture of Dorian Gray? 3, 2, 1. John Proctor is the villain. Natasha Katz doesn't mess.
Not to be, I agree, and not to be the MC in the second act of Cabaret, but I'm just not sure that I care much.
I think there are just moments of John Proctor that have stayed with me for lighting, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's great lighting moments in all of those plays that we've seen. Yeah, not to diminish the work of lighting designers, I just don't feel passionately in any particular direction. Meanwhile, lighting design of a musical. Let's see if I have stronger thoughts about this one. The nominees here are Jack Knowles for Sunset Boulevard, Tyler Michelot for Buena Vista Social Club, Scott Zielinski and Ray Horn-Sun for Floyd Collins, Ben Stanton for Maybe Happy Ending, and Justin Townsend for Death Becomes Her. I know what I want.
Yeah, I think I do.
I know what I want. If we're in a restaurant right now, I am ready to order because I know what I want. And here is what I am ordering. 3, 2, 1. Maybe Happy
Boulevard.
Ending. Oh.
Do you know what? I thought both.
It's the Fireflies. Those damn Fireflies got me.
Do you know what it is? I think it's that Sunset Boulevard, the lighting makes up for a lot of the fact that there's no set. But like
the red moment when it's
the
like,
red light moment. And just, I remember when we watched Sunset for the first time, and I walked in and the lights come on. I was like,
yeah.
At the end, especially with the lighting.
Oh, yeah. I'm back in the Fireflies.
I want it back to Fireflies.
Too late, you said it now.
Best sound design of a play, we have Paul Arditi for Stranger Things: The First Shadow, Palmer Hefferon for John Proctor as the Villain, Daniel Kluger for Good Night and Good Luck, Nick Powell for The Hills of California, and Clements Williams for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Do I have strong feelings?
I know, right? And there's brilliant work, and you could pull different things out of each of them, but then it's very academic. Just what do you want? Which person here do you want to win this award for their work?
I think I've got one. It's really difficult. It is so difficult to break away heart and like logical,
isn't it? Though, yeah.
But I think I know what with my heart I'd want.
I have an answer.
I know what I get happy for.
It's a weird, fudgy little answer, but it's an answer. 3, 2, 1.
The Hills of California
Proctor is the villain. Interesting.
Oh.
No, because my answer's terrible. My answer is literally, I was like, I want Hills of California to do well, but the more Tonys John Proctor wins, the more likely it is to come to the UK and I get the chance to see it again. That's literally what I'm doing right now.
No, I just remember Green Light.
Yeah.
And that section of the end is one of my favourite.
You're thinking. That's academic. That's technical.
But John Proctor, but I think Hills of California, and just like the music.
And we have to root for a home crowd occasionally.
But yeah, the soundscape, just I think it does really well.
California.
It's a long play, and they do very well with the memories and how.
If you're going to talk about Greenlight, then you have to talk about the Rescue Me. Not the Rescue Me.
Yeah, when it's the scene transitioning, when Joan's about to appear and they play the music and it's the
Give Me Shelter. Yeah. Finally, then sound design of a musical. We have Jonathan Deans for Buena Vista Social Club, Adam Fisher for Sunset Boulevard, Peter Hylenski for Just in Time, Peter Hylenski for Maybe Happy Ending, and Dan Moses Schreier for Floyd Collins. 2 of these we haven't seen. 3 of them we have.
My logical brain.
I've got an answer.
I think I do straight away.
I have an answer. What do you want? 3, 2, 1. Sunset Boulevard. Because, and I've said it before, they managed to achieve what Zoom can't.
Yeah.
And he is being transmitted and he is in time with the orchestra, and it's just so much
It's wild.
It's just stunning. The sound on that is stunning, and I want that.
And the fact that the microphone doesn't pick up the street and they're able to just focus in on his singing voice.
Yeah. And do you remember at the Watson Stage Awards when
Nicole was like...
Adam Fisher made his speech first and he was rattling through everyone. He says, Nicole, you're great. And then she made her speech because she said, Adam Fisher, you're great too.
Yeah.
And I think even then I thought like he could end up winning a Tony. That speech could make it. I hope he wins a Tony and he tells Nicole that she's great on stage of the Tonys. And more than half the people around, most of the people in that room don't know why, but we laugh about it.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I wanted to... My little bit was like Fireflies, but then I was like...
You don't get to play both sides of the table tennis.
No, but my heart is with Sunset.
Good.
You have not used your tie yet.
I still haven't used my tie.
You use it for the actors.
I'm starting to think I know when I'm going to use my tie. But I could make it the whole way through and just be really decisive.
Let's go to leading actor in a musical.
We've arrived at the world of performances. This feels even more personal, and again, we celebrate all of these talents, all of these performances. That being said, who are our nominees?
Darren Criss for Maybe Happy Ending. Andrew Durand for Dead Outlaw. Tom Francis for Sunset Boulevard. Jonathan Groff for Just in Time. James Monroe Iglehart for A Wonderful World. And Jeremy Jordan for Floyd Collins. 3, 2, 1.
Jonathan
Darren Criss.
Groff. And we haven't seen the show. I haven't seen this performance yet. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I just really want him to do the 2 year in a row thing. I just think he's such a beacon of joy in the community.
I see that.
And he's so well loved and respected that it would make me really happy. And yeah, for some reason, that's just what my heart wants at this time.
Do you know, that's kind of like a bit of how I feel why I think if Darren Criss went on the stage for Oliver, I'd like be beaming, because he's also a producer on the show. He's put so much into this show to try and get it to succeed. He loves theatre. I just think he's doing such great work, and watching him again in it, I was just like, oh, this is such a great performance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's jump over to leading actors in a play. We have George Clooney for Good Night and Good Luck, Cole Escola for O Mary, John Michael Hill for Purpose, Daniel Day Kim for Yellowface, Harry Lennox for Purpose, and Louis McCartney for Stranger Things: The First Shadow. 3, 2, 1. Cole Escola for O Mary. Yeah, deserves it. Would be fantastic. Would be fun to see. You know that Cole is going to be wearing the best outfit out of anyone in this category.
And Cole, just like the second we're on stage, just all the hilarity.
It's so genius. It's so unhinged.
It's so clever. It would just make me happy, and it also like I didn't have to think. I was just like, Cole.
Yeah.
Now let's do leading actress in a play.
Let's do it.
So we have Laura Donnelly for The Hills of California.
The Hills of California.
Mia Farrow for The Roommate. Latanya Richardson Jackson for Purpose. Sadie Sink for John Proctor as the villain. Sarah Snook for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
I have my answer.
I have mine.
3, 2, 1.
Laura Donnelly
for The Hills of California.
She just does a great
job. I was rooting for her at the Olivier's as well. It's such a great performance.
There's two characters, and it's the through line, the acting, the accent work, power on the stage when she's on there. And
she's been very celebrated for it, but it's still, not quite enough. I don't think necessarily has been said about how captivating her performance, her dual performance is in that show. It really haunted me for a long time after I saw it. Then we have the big one, the category that people have been asking us about, the category that people have been discussing over cocktails in Manhattan and indeed around the world.
And this is what our heart wants.
Not who we think should, not who we think will. And it's almost impossible to call. This is what we want. This is what our heart wants to happen. The nominees for Best Leading Actress in a Musical include Megan Hilty for Death Becomes Her, Audra McDonald for Gypsy, Jasmine Amy Rogers for Boop, Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard, and Jennifer Simard for Death Becomes Her. 3, 2, 1. Jasmine Amy Rogers.
I get that. She's a phenomenal.
I didn't like the show that much, but I went to see it and I was like, what comes so naturally, so effortlessly to her, and it's not effortless at all because she's working incredibly hard, but it's mesmerizing. It's really, it's just star power. You just can't put a name on that. And that is, everyone in this category brings that to the stage, but I would be delighted if she managed to make it through all of the brilliant diva heavyweights around her.
I agree. I think it would be...
You're wishing that you hadn't thrown your tie away and you could have said Megan and Jen, aren't you?
No.
Okay.
I feel like she's been very underestimated or not valued as much for what she does, which is this comedic, clever, slightly dark, slightly nuanced performance. I just think in 5 to 10 years, we're going to look back on her performance and be like, that was this iconic diva moment when Megan Hilty was in this that so many people are going to try and replicate or are going to look up to. So let's start with featured actor in a musical. Where does our heart go? We have Brooks Hashmanskas for Smash, Jeb Brown for Dead Outlaw, Danny Burstein for Gypsy, Jack Malone for Operation Mincemeat, a new musical, and Taylor Trench for Floyd Collins. 3, 2, 1.
Jack Malone for Operation Mincemeat.
Jack's performance of Dear Bill,
Yeah.
that was...
I almost don't want to get too confident it's going to happen because it would be devastating if it didn't, but I mean, I really want it to happen.
That's just what I want. Like,
that would like offset a bunch of really disappointing outcomes in other categories for me because it would make me so happy.
Yeah.
As long as that happened.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where I'm like, that's a definite. And then if it didn't happen, I'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
All the other performances are amazing. Dear Bill, like, is just this. It's just a moment in musical theatre. I think I just want, like, when the Olivier happened, it was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, let's acknowledge this and let's acknowledge
everything in the characterization and the grace and the comedy and everything with which Jack plays the multiple roles in the show. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Then we have Best Featured Actor in a Play. We have Glenn Davis for Purpose, Gabriel Ebert for John Proctor as the villain, Francis Dew for Yellowface, Bob Odenkirk for Glengarry Glen Ross, and Conrad Ricamora for O'Mary.
I know I want.
I know what you want as well. I know what you're going to say on this one. We're going to say the same thing. Count me in. Let's see.
3, 2, 1. Francis Dew
from Yellowface.
Yeah.
Thrilled to see the nomination. Again, it was a show from earlier in the season. And yeah, that would be so lovely. It was a brilliant performance.
So deserved.
Yeah.
Like, kind of ended it and was just like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. This character that started as sort of a comic aside and then took on so much sort of the ironic, serious weight.
Yeah.
But was still charming throughout.
And he just got this weird, like, clearness of how much he loved theatre through a performance. And I was like, you don't often get to see, like, that heart to it.
And he'd played the role before, right? In a off-Broadway version. So
this is a long history with this show.
Yeah. 2 categories left and I'm still wearing a bow tie.
So we've got Best Performance by a Featured Actress in a Play.
Okay.
We've got Tala Ash for English, Jessica Hecht for Eureka Day, Marja Neshat for English, Finestraza for John Proctor as the villain, and Kari Young for Purpose. I think I know what I would be really happy to see. And I hadn't got that until just reading it out.
It's still hard to even narrow it down to 2, but I am going to throw the tie down so that I can have a tie in this category. Having said that, have we ever seen a tie for Best Director when you used yours earlier? Has that ever happened in the history of the world?
I don't know.
You just go first. I think. 3, 2, 1.
Tala Ash.
Tala Ash and Jessica Hecht.
Oh, yeah.
I can't choose. I
love Jessica Hecht.
They would both make me really happy.
I loved Jessica Hecht's performance, but because I'd already only got one.
I think if I couldn't have a tie, I think maybe I would have said Tala Ash there. It would just make me really happy. And there was a fear that, again...
I never said nobody from English would be remembered.
Not because they weren't fantastic, but because there were
so early.
Many... I'd say, well, it's so early and so many great featured actors' performances. I mean, the John Proctor cast and the Purpose cast, all of these other plays were opening subsequently, and we were fearful that they wouldn't be remembered. And then when they both were, we were so thrilled.
Yeah.
And she was so good in it.
You know when somebody's on stage and you just believe them and you just really care about them.
Yeah.
And you really, really feel all the emotions.
We were invested. We were so invested in that character.
She unlocks everything about that play.
Yeah. Then we have one final category to decide on, and that is Best Performance by Featured Actress in a Musical.
Yes.
The nominees are Natalie Venetia Balcon for Buena Vista Social Club, Julia Nightle for Dead Outlaw, Gracie Lawrence for Just in Time, Justina Machado for Real Women Have Curves, and Joy Woods for Gypsy. In fact, we've only seen one of these, because we didn't see Joy in Gypsy.
No.
So we have literally only seen 1 out of 5.
But what I will say is that my heart is with that one person of the 5. Natalie's just a force.
And I also
on
think...
the stage, I was just like I think she was one of those people that came on stage and I was in awe.
Yeah, and
I was just in
also think,
awe of her.
She hasn't necessarily had the recognition, and this should be like that career-defining moment.
When I looked at her afterwards and realised she was the Gary Coleman in Avenue Q when it was on, and I was like, how many people from that cast does everybody remember? Like, were there not more opportunities given to her from the success of the show that you normally see with people? But just in general on the stage, I was just like, I am in awe of what you're doing right now. And it's hard to be a formidable character in terms of the power that you have, but then have such, delicate and...
It's a lightness of touch, for sure.
Yeah, just this underlying, you can see there's brokenhearted and there's sadness It was just beautifully done.
Yeah. So that is what we want to happen next month at the Tony Awards, we think. But we would also love to know what you want to happen. So let us know in the comments about any particular category, which ones you feel the most strongly about, or feel free to list all of the ones for every single category who you want to win at the Tony Awards next month. Also, as we mentioned before, those are not our full predictions on who we think actually will win or even should win, so stay tuned for those coming much nearer to the ceremony so you don't miss those. Make sure that you're following along on podcast platforms or subscribed right here on YouTube with the notifications turned on so that your mobile telephone device lets you know every time there is a new video right here. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, for listening to us chat about the Tony Awards, and we both hope that you are staying safe and that you have
a stagey day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
For 10 more seconds, I'm MickeyJoTheatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!